Good morning. When you wake up, you'll finally realize that America itself and her fallen angelic system, called a quote unquote democracy, is actually a fallen angelic corruption of what ancient biblical kingdoms always were. Kingdom, which means it was headed by one male patriarch or king. But these fallen angel babies, Satan's children, the founding fathers, as they like to say, created a democratic system, which we see as failing and as corrupt. And interestingly enough, nations worldwide have made an image or mirror image of the beast system, adopting for themselves democracies, which the beast system of America can manipulate from without or outside via provocateurs. That's why America, when they see ancient kingdoms outside the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is rare, and I won't teach on that or speak on that right now. But they did the same with Saddam Hussein. They did the same with Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. They hate and despise a male patriarch or king. And they call them dictators, and they go in and make war with them and overthrow them. You don't understand that that's satanic. Who was the first one to raise up against Yahuwah in heaven? It was Satan. The scriptures tells you in Daniel chapter 2, verse 22, that it's Yahuwah that raises up kings. And he puts them on the throne and takes them off the throne, not your vote. So you should see that an image to the beast is also, it says the whole world is deceived. And all these nations, most of them, I don't think all of them, but the vast majority of them have created an image or recreation, if you will, a democratic system where they vote. But even at that, the will of Yahuwah is accomplished because he prevails even in the hearts of men. But it was not his original intention. His original intention, kingdoms will be ruled by male monarchs. Always has been since the beginning of time. But Satan goes against everything that Yahuwah has created in his order. So I wanted to speak on that this morning, and you should see that those, that founded this nation's democracy and that, how much it's praised in the earth. But it is the beast system of these last days. It will soon be given over to the heart of one man, the little horn, which is Donald Trump, fulfilling Daniel chapter 7, verse 4. And also Daniel chapter 7, verse 8 through 9. It's a marker of how close we are to our redemption. Therefore, we have to preach the truth in season and out of season and warn each other, and those who have an ear will hear. Understand these things. That's why when you see rulers that were indeed legitimately put in place, and America has been in business of doing this for decades, they go in, and there's a word I'm looking for, when they secretly go in and they cause uprisings and coups d'etats and they overthrow that leader. That's all Satan behind the scenes and his minions and his dominions and his fallen ones acting through the CIA of this nation and various corporations. Yep, that's how it works. So be aware, because the word of Yahuwah will never fail. This nation will ultimately fall and be destroyed. Our redemption is around the corner, even at the door. I don't think it'll be 10 years. I think it'll be within 7 years, to be honest with you, or even less. No man knows the day or hour, but there are those he's given eyes to see the signs that he spoke about. So no man's going to be able to just say it's going to be this particular point in time, because it tells you the Son himself don't even know that day or hour. But judging from the consummation of prophecies fulfilling, and there are many fulfilling concurrently right now. The kings of the east have risen up. Michael the archangel has stood up and is fighting on our behalf. I'll save that for another lesson, but that's fulfilled in Russia. That's why if you're gonna pray for any nation, I mean they gonna prevail anyway because it's prophetic. But it's good that your prayers be in line with the saints. If you look at their flag, there's a being on a horse with a sword, and underneath the horse he's trampling this black dragon. Well, that's Satan. And the being on the horse is Michael the archangel. See, these are signs that you have to have eyes to look for. And basically, Russia and Vladimir Putin is taking on NATO single-handedly and prevailing and whooping their ass. And China is another king of the East that's joined with them. They've created BRICS. That won't fail. You know, nations abroad and worldwide has woken up to Satan's tactics. Africa's kicking out the tares or Satan's children out of their kingdoms. You know, European Western nations, those who went in and committed heinous crimes. I mean, it's documented, some of the heinous crimes that they committed, well documented. And, you know, and that's why His Majesty put forth the parable. He said, and the enemy sowed seeds. And what does a weed do? A weed takes over a field and it kills the indigenous. I don't have to go further now. It's the perfect parable. What they say, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck. That's who they are. Call them exactly who they are, because they've called us everything in the book but the true children of Yah. But nevertheless, I wanted to point that out to you. This is the beast system. Also, the image of the beast that was made to speak. I mean, you see that night and day on television. You know, everything is modeled after them. They go through and they kill, steal, and destroy. And what do they call it when they steal people's inventions, their culture, their language, their music? And, you know, even our God, they went in the scriptures and took out his name and put in a false name and gave him white skin, blue eyes and soft spoken, changed his doctrine and gave him blonde hair. All of it just gave him a whole different God. You know, so understand these things. An image of the beast was made to speak. And you don't understand that false name, that Jesus and that image that they gave you is Satan transformed into an angel of light. Because His Majesty said in John chapter 14:30, if I'm not mistaken, but Google it. He said, I will not speak to you much hereafter. He said, because after me comes the wicked one and he has nothing in me. Then you go to Isaiah 14:14, and the prophet told you that Satan himself said that he will raise up, you know, his throne above the thought. He will be worshiped like the Most High. Then you go to 2 Corinthians 11:14, and it says, marvel not, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. So all of these fit in line. You should know that Christianity via the Roman Catholic Church, which is the mother of harlots, is a satanic religion, and it's not the same God of Scripture. Satan is an imitator, a false imitator, which means blasphemer. He's a perpetrator. So Yahuwah is the Father's name. His name has to go first. If you don't know the Father, you can't identify the Son, because the Son proceeds in the Father's name. I'm touching on a lot of things here. So cast out that false name. That's blasphemy. And that's probably one of the worst sins out there, because Yahuwah's name is almighty, and Satan himself knows his name and knew that. That's why he went in scriptures and through his scholars and translators, he made them put in Baal, you know, the Lord. And then they later on, that false name transformed into Jesus, you know, which was never his name. So you need to get rid of that. And if you hear this and still cling on to that false name, you guilty anyway. You guilty of taking his name in vain. You don't know how quick that is. As soon as his proper name is declared to you, his almighty, eternal, holy name, and you dismiss it, say, well, I'm holding on to this, you guilty, and you're going to pay for it, because it's in the commandments, Exodus chapter 20, verse 7. So you better hear this and hear me out well. You know, so understand all these things. Only we fulfill the biblical prophecies. Anyone that doesn't believe scripture or doesn't believe in God or the Most High Yahuwah and his people and don't know who we are, all you have to do is take them to the book. If they don't believe in creation, we're living proof that that there is a creator. Because the scriptures were written thousands of years before we came here and prophesied about things that we as a people would go through. That's the only proof they need. The mathematical chances of that are so small that there is no way it could be random. It prophesied our taking away enslaved ships, our being sold, are being disproportionately incarcerated, our cities being torn down. It prophesied that we would have more churches, just as many churches as streets. It prophesied that we would be a peculiar people known by many bywords such as nigger, colored, all sorts of names. Only we fit those prophecies. That alone should be proof enough. Any mathematician, statistician, Neil deGrasse, all that. That's all you have to do, and drop the mic on their ass. All you have to do is show how we fulfill the prophecies. And just like the parable that His Majesty spoke, when the man Lazarus, went into Abraham's bosom, and he saw the men standing over there in hell. He said, "Oh man, let me go back and warn." He was talking to Abraham. "Let me go back and warn my brothers." And he said, "Nah." He said, if they got Moses and the prophets, that means the books. He said, if they don't believe them, neither will they believe a man, though he returned from the dead. So that lets you know that the testimony of Moses and the prophets is greater. And if they won't believe the books, they ain't gonna believe somebody that be walking around talking about, yeah, I died before. So yeah, when somebody tell you they died, went to hell, and came back, that's straight bullshit. Scriptures tell you that right there. So yeah, it's early this morning. I'm still having my coffee. I just wanted to speak on those things. His name is the first thing that must go forth properly. Properly. That is the true baptism. Everything else hangs on that. His name was the biggest and first commandment, even before the 10 Commandments. Even before he spoke to Moshe on Mount Sinai. He commanded in Exodus 3:15 that we know his name and teach it to our generations forever. Because he said, this is my name forever and how I am known. It's not a man known by his name. You don't know a person's name, you really don't know him. That's the secret place of the Most High, knowing his name. For it says, and it shall come to pass that all who calls upon the name of Yahuwah shall be delivered. The Father's name is the beginning of the Son's name. Been preaching this for a long time. Pretty soon the preaching gonna stop. Until however many days he has me here for. And eventually the numbers of people that are gonna be sealed or baptized with his name is gonna be reached. And that means ain't nobody else gonna be capable of being sealed. That's when the 4 winds are gonna be let loose. And people gonna start suffering. And they should have heard when the word went forth. So with that, I'm going to end it. 12 minutes is enough. And peace be with you. Good morning.